G'day, welcome to our second Melbourne preview. Matt Taylor from the Punters Show, and I'm joined by Darren Potter.
Hey Matt.
Hey mate, how are you?
I'm good.
You were a bit under the weather last week, but you're looking and feeling much better.
Feeling 100% better this week.
Yeah.
And I thought we got off to a reasonable start last week. It wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
And I didn't mention it on the show, only sort of occurred to me later, but our subscribers almost had a coup last week with 100 to 1 horse Janali missing out by a half head. But
yes.
That was pretty solid last week, and if the Moonee Valley track gives us a fair go this week, I'm pretty confident we can have a winning day again.
Yep. And well, one of the debate horse last week was Lord of the Sky. We sort of weren't overly keen on him, and we were just having a chat, Smoke and Joey. Look, when he turns up and he's fit and healthy and he gets some pace on, he's okay, isn't he?
Yeah, no, he needs that outside gate. He needs to be building momentum around horses. They'd gone 100 metres last week, and I knew he had that race won.
Yep.
And I was just filthy on myself for not having him strongly on the betting plan. But and it was a race I left alone when Lord of the Sky was very vulnerable, and Smoke and Joey was the rock solid horse, and he beat those horses.
Pointlessly. Yeah, exactly. So look, it just shows, doesn't it? Like, you can be a professional punter and not get everything right from the outset.
No, absolutely.
Doesn't matter, does it?
No, you've got to get enough right to win. That's the key.
Exactly.
But there's no hope of you ever beating this game and thinking you know everything. It's just not possible.
Yep, exactly right. So let's move on to Saturday, and we're at Moonee Valley.
Moonee Valley. Back to the Rail True. This is the fifth meeting since they had a break over the winter.
Yep.
The track's played awfully, to be honest. The further the rail's gone out, the worse it's got. The last meeting was at 7 metres, and it was hopeless.
Yep.
You just had to be on pace. You had to race on the rails. A couple of the winners sort of got around. It was only because they just completely overdid it. It was an overcompensation situation. But we won't get a situation like that tomorrow. So the best of the 4 meetings that we've had was back in May. It was the first one. The rail was true that day.
Okay. And
the fence was off really, and the run-on horses got the best of it. I don't really think we'll get that again tomorrow, but it could happen. I'm just not. It's possible. I think the only starting point can be that you have to treat the track as being fair.
Yep, and then adapt.
And then adjust from there, because it's likely to change throughout the day.
Yeah, okay.
So I think it's probably going to be a slight on pace bias early, but probably to the horses racing one off the rail more than hard on the fence.
Yep. And
then as the day develops, particularly if there is a little bit of rain, because there's just a little bit of, some chance of 1 to 5 mils in the forecast, but it's not significant. But if it was to arrive, they could, scout a bit wider later in the day. But again, that's very hard to predict. So.
Yeah, and the other little anomaly coming into this meeting is it's the 1st of August, isn't it?
Yeah,
so every horse,
season.
All the 2-year-olds are now 3-year-olds, and I've noticed there's a couple of 3-year-olds taking on the older horses for the first time, sort of coming into this meeting. So
the new 4-year-olds.
The new 4-year-olds. Yeah, so.
I think those new 4-year-olds will do particularly well in the early part of this season. That group last year started out quite weak and got stronger throughout the year, particularly the colts. The fillies are no good. So the new 4-year-old fillies, I'm not going to be that keen on them against the mares.
Yep.
I'm not saying they won't be competitive, I don't think they'll be a force, but the 4-year-old, new season 4-year-old males, I think will be a real force. And the new 3-year-olds, the 2-year-old, we saw that with Vancouver winning the Slipper and Pride Dubai winning the Blue Diamond. Normally that means that it's a strong cult year, and but just lately the 2-year-old fillies that are now 3 have been up to the mark.
Yeah,
they were all pretty weak horses, to be fair. When those autumn horses come back for the spring, I think they'll just take over very quickly.
Okay,
but. Like tomorrow, the 2 3-year-old races that kick off the card, the fillies race is infinitely stronger than the colts race. I bet they'll run 3 to 5 lengths quicker, I would say.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get straight into it then. Race 1. Is it Petite Falou? Is that how they pronounce that one? And look, she was quite impressive, wasn't she? I thought on debut?
Well, to the eye she was. She ran fast time.
Yep.
She beat absolutely nothing. Like, they were completely legless. And
Yep.
she had the bias in her favour. So I think she didn't start short enough. So I think she's a bit... It's impossible not to mark a top pick.
Yep.
Because that was Moonee Valley. We're back at Moonee Valley.
Yeah, exactly.
But she got straight to the front there.
Yeah.
And she was just way too quick for them.
Yep.
And the bias didn't allow any of the others to do anything
Okay,
about
so
it.
there was a bias on that day.
Yeah,
Yep, that was the day, yeah.
Half a dozen litres won.
Okay.
She's going to get a lot of competition for the front here. She'll probably get it, but the Big Dance, Steam Ahead, Hay Bar, they're all pretty quick. They'll all challenge her. So in a race I'm not going to get very involved in. I'm happy to sort of bet around her. I mean, she's $1.75, so
Yeah.
easy to let her go.
Yep.
The Big Dance is also too short. She won a...
The Vobis, one of the...
Yeah, one of the big
Vobis
prize money races, so they're all trying there, but...
yeah, there's no
and she
form.
won well. The form's sort of
No one's
wishy-washy,
won it.
but
Yeah,
it's a big field, they're all trying, so I'm not potting her, but she's too short, so I think the early price assessors have gone in heavily for those two horses and they've ignored the rest, and some of these others have got a bit of talent, and I'm happy just to have little specky bets on some of the others. So
I'm assuming maybe number 8's one of those. Steam Ahead? Stream
No,
Ahead?
well,
it's $34. I
Yeah.
hit the form quickly, and look, one start for a 2-length win, and isn't it now been spelled and now $34? It seems not a bad gamble.
yeah, absolutely. I think I've marked him shorter than that, or her shorter than that. It was out wide. Where was it? It was
Is that Bendigo?
Bendigo. Something.
Yeah.
Well, the Bendigo form's still okay. Look, she'd be one that you could consider, but she's an on-pacer here.
Yeah, there's a few.
So, but at $34, absolutely.
Yep.
The two that I thought would get cheap runs and could appear late, Deja Blue, who's coming off the synthetic, but she's travelled really nicely in both those runs. And I think she's got something to offer. She'll be riding behind the speed, could poke through late. And Maternal comes down from Sydney.
Yep.
There's nothing wrong with the form. She gets off the really heavy ground, but she didn't seem to like it, Rose Hill, and she's a chance of poking through at $15 as well. So, interesting race, but I think the favourites are a bit short.
Okay. Race number 2. We've got a first starter here, Attack the Line, who I've seen it have one barrier trial victory and did quite well. How are you assessing Attack the Line's chances?
Well, I don't know. What do you think about, essentially 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, whatever, having their first barrier trial in blinkers and then appearing in their first race start in blinkers? It's not something that I particularly like.
Yeah, well, look, the fact that it is having its first appearance as a late 3-year-old and, now 3-year-old, it shows it's taken some time to mature. It's never a great sign, I don't think. And look, the trial itself was, I just describe it as fine. Like it was fine. Like it went to the front. It was clearly probably a better horse than most of those, but from what I saw, a lot of them were first starters.
Yeah.
I think putting it up favourite. Look, I suppose you have to, but I'm not overly enthused by it.
Yeah, well, I didn't have to, so I didn't. I would be happy to bet around it. To me, if they need blinkers on to get them to concentrate at that stage, it's you're well within your rights at that price range to have a look at them. So he's from a good stable, and when they bet, they're usually around the money. And I think 480 went up and straight into $3. So he's an interesting runner, but he can go around against me here. I'm interested in the two that resume as geldings. I like, that's something I do like.
Okay.
So Top Me Up did nice enough things in his first prep.
Yep.
Resumes here in his second prep as a gelding.
And that Burnstone was sort of on its way to be a good horse before I think it broke down, maybe even died.
Died, yeah.
And then obviously running fourth of the Brave, and I think the fast finishing Pride of Dubai.
Yeah.
That day, so the form is pretty solid, isn't it?
Yeah, he did. I mean, he sort of probably wasn't ready for those races, and he did okay. He was
first up, second prep.
Yeah, he looks
at the two prices on offer.
Yeah,
I know which way you'd want to lean, I think.
And the other one is Bantam. He's a horse that had a spruik
Mm.
on him, and he never was able to put it together or he hasn't been able to put it together on the racetrack as yet.
Yep.
And he resumes the gelding, and his recent jump out looked infinitely better than anything I've seen from him in the past. So
Right.
at $8, I think he's a value bet in the race. But
And it looks like all the top weights have the national jockeys colours on Saturday.
Oh, okay.
So that's why Bantam's not wearing the Godolphin colours.
Let's
Just
cheer for the
realised
jockeys.
that. Yeah. So yeah, a couple of angles there, definitely to look at. The third race, look, I think all power to you. You stuck with El Cavallo last start, and after forgiving a somewhat disappointing first up run, but I did hear Moonee say that he's a horse that doesn't track work well, so he just needs racing to get it fit.
Yeah.
So you did well to find it. How have you assessed him second time around, or third time around this prep?
Well, he's a pretty solid 1,000-metre horse, so
Yep.
he's got a few convictions,
Yep.
but generally speaking, once he's going, his 1,000-metre form's pretty good, and he'll race on speed here, stalking Sweet Emily, and he's clearly the horse to beat. So
Okay.
I expect him to be better than he was at Flemington. So
Okay.
if you think that's good enough to win, well, you're certainly going to like him here.
Yep. You don't mind him? Do you mind him around the bend or up the straight? Have you got a preference for him? Never
It's
been.
funny. It's a funny thing. A lot of horses that go well at Flemington go well at Moonee Valley.
So he was the one
and
that
they go any good at
he
Caulfield.
debuted at Sandown. Wasn't it on the 800 metre race and did quite a good job.
900 metre race.
900
He's
was it?
had
Yeah.
a couple of wins at Sandown. He did, his biggest win was at Flemington.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I just, it's about price at the end of the day, and I think he's every bit of, somewhere between a 6 to 4 and a 7 to 4 chance. So
Okay.
he's the horse to beat. So
Yep.
about it. Sweet Emily's got a chance. She loves Moonee Valley, and she'll be up front. So she'll probably want the fence to be an advantage.
Yep.
I doubt it will be, but she'll probably need it to be an advantage to win. And the other runner I'm a little bit interested in is the Adelaide Visitor, Pistolier. It's a 1,000-metre horse. He should race within striking distance, well and truly. And he's coming off. He won nicely, even though it was a weak race. So it was like a midweek or below standard race.
Yep.
He did it tough. He was 3 wide, no cover. He got the line. Well, so he put a hole in him. So he gets a big weight drop here, which the stables always like. I think he's a chance of appearing late.
And touch on Hard Romp. I've noticed he's had 8 starts at the track for nothing, and they've kept him to Flemington.
Yeah, he's done all of his recent racing down the straight. So, despite what I just said, his record shows you that he's not as good at Moonee Valley, and I'm happy to let him go.
Yep. And I remember Sealord won that day where it was Leader's Paradise, so you can't say he's back to his full form.
He's a 1,200 metre controller. He has to control, so he can't get to the front here, so I don't think he can win.
Okay. I think he's nailed that one down. Race number 4 is over the mile. So we got Digger Pony and Spirit of Heaven, I think, heading the market here are they from the same race last start?
They are from the same race. They're from the same stable.
Yep.
And they've got dominant form over this field. So
Yep.
if they're well ridden, I think they'll fight the race out. And I think they're both backable in the early market. I think they're likely to start shorter. Fourth up, last prep, Spirit of Heaven got to 1,600, and they sent her forward from the outside gate at Caulfield, and she won really nicely. So she's had the 3 good fitness runs.
Yep.
I'll be surprised if Ollie doesn't send her forward and put her in the race, because it's a race. Shadow of the Mist, the leader, but apart from that, there's not a lot of obvious tempo. So
perhaps, last time it was sort of stuck behind horses while Digger Pony was able to gather momentum down the outside. You're seeing a bit of maybe sort of take control.
Yeah, sitting within 2 lengths of the leader. So she's capable of doing that. If they go back on her, she's probably got no chance. So I'd be astonished if the Moonee stable doesn't figure that out. They're an astute stable. They've got good tacticians in their team, and they'll figure it out. Ollie will figure it out himself anyway.
Yeah.
It just seems too obvious for her to go up on pace. So
Okay.
even Digaponi, who's at 1400 tends to be a back marker. I think she can race midfield at worst, so she can be close enough. And she's the one who's primed.
Yep.
She was very hard in the market second up, off a not particularly good first up run, and her run was very good.
Yep.
In a good form race. So third up, she just, she looks a rock solid chance. And as I said, I expect them to both start significantly shorter than they currently are and fight the race out. I struggled to find a third pick, to be honest.
Yeah, you've got the Blendwell race, I suppose, providing a bit of that form, and Blendwell ended up just coming from the midweek, so you're happy to say that's a level below the Jessie Bell form.
I'd be strongly opposing that form.
Yeah.
Shadow of the Mist got the bias that they give her almost none here, despite being the leader. And First Bloom sort of was okay, but she looks too well found for me here.
Yeah.
Coming through that race. Blendwell won against the pattern that day. It was coming from provincial form, so I don't think that's form at all. Domino Vitale's some interest here, but
2.8 to her story is obviously stacking up.
That was a slowly run race. Her story was dominant. She had the Colts form. They're fillies, so I'm saying she's one of these new season 4-year-olds that normally you're sort of keen to find against the older mares, but I prefer the Jessie Bell form to the 3-year-old fillies form, where her story was just completely dominant.
Okay, well that's a good little leg up for the punters there. The fifth, here we go, mate, Bagman running around for I think his 4th consecutive 2,000 metre race. Diametrics on a 7-day backup. And then you got Honourable Aussie, I think, is in the market as well. So, how have you seen this one?
I find the early betting here very curious.
Yep.
Bagman's a dominant favourite at around the 5-2 mark, and he found a race to win last start. He won it, but he wasn't particularly short. 2 runs back, he SP'd a similar price to Lord Durant, and Lord Durant beat him home. I mean, I know Lord Durant was well ridden, but their form looks pretty similar to me, and the price gap between those two, to me, looks weird.
Okay.
So I don't expect that'll sustain. So Bagman he looks opposed. I mean, he'll run well. He's an honest horse, but he's one of those wallow runners that once they get to this stage of their career, they tend to win once every sort of half a dozen or 10 starts. They don't often win back to back.
Yeah.
So he's in there with a hope, but he looks significantly well found to me.
Yeah, and gets to Moonee Valley where he has been before, but look, potentially this is a race where they're going to be off the bit on the turn, and his 4th run at 2,000, he just might not have the sprint in him. You're saying maybe a little gap, a little problem for him?
Absolutely, he looks a bit dour.
Yeah. Thoughts on Diametric? Has he got a race in him? And is this it?
Well, you've got to watch him in the parade because he's a nutter.
Yeah.
He doesn't help himself. He wastes a lot of energy doing things that aren't necessary.
Yeah.
Last week he was second up with a gap between runs.
Yeah, distance
1,800,
rise.
big distance rise. It was a very good conditioning run. I don't think he was there to be with any serious chance of winning that race, and in the circumstances his run was surprisingly good.
I thought he was quite good on the line.
He was very good. He was very keen early, so not only did he waste energy in the parade, but then he wasted energy early in the race.
Yep.
And then he hit the line nicely. I think he's got too much talent for these.
Yep.
If he does everything right.
Okay.
So third up on the backup, I'm hoping that takes the edge off him, parades nicely. He should be able to settle in behind the speed. If he settles 3rd, 4th on the fence and Honourable Aussie leads, Honourable Aussie's an absolute certainty to hang off the fence.
Yeah.
At least probably 3, maybe 4 wide on the home turn.
Okay, he hangs does he on the turns? Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's not without a hope, Honourable Aussie, but he's hard to trust. And I don't know if Moonee Valley's quite his track, but yeah, Diametric looks a really good solid bet to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good little...
I'd just be with the caution of just seeing how he goes in the parade and watching the market, because these races where Waller's got 3, you have to pay attention to what's happening late on Betfair.
A bit of Sydney racing comes to Melbourne with 3 Waller runners. Race 6, it's the return of Taunting here. They've put up about $2.20. It's a 1200 metre race. What are we thinking here?
Well, it's interesting. So, first of all, you got 11 runners.
Yep.
You've got the 2 younger horses, Tortune and the Tasmanian Valiant Warrior. And you got 9 pretty tired-looking old sprinters here that are on their last legs, most of them.
Yeah.
So it's pretty easy just to go straight to the 4-year-olds.
Yeah.
Tortine lost the plot a bit towards the end of the last prep. The last 3 runs, they were pretty hollow.
Certainly did, yep.
She's had a jump out where she spent the whole time avoiding a riderless horse.
Yeah,
so
I heard about that, okay.
I don't know if that means anything, so...
That's left you with only one then.
And she's probably just a little bit soft late at 1200, particularly first up, so...
Yeah, I did notice most of her racing was at shorter distances last time in.
Yeah. So her 1200 metre wins have been against fillies where she's sort of just been too good for them, so... Even though I've priced her shorter, because she's got a profile that allows you to do that, I think Valiant Warrior is the horse to beat. He came over to the mainland for his first go last start. He ran in a strong race that Saputo won. He ran a good race. He got lost down the straight, wobbled around a lot, and I think the run was better than what it reads on paper. It reads okay on paper, and I think it was better than that.
Yep.
He'll follow Tortine here, and I'm happy to back him to run her down.
Yeah. Look, I think the form around Admiral over in Tasmania was sort of quite good. Admiral was a horse that I think ended up beating the cleaner.
Yeah.
Superdo returned fantastically and just has a nice, lovely weight drop as well. It ticks a lot of boxes, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. That Saputo form will be better than standard off-season form. So
yeah, and 1200 probably suits better than the 11.
Definitely. Yeah.
Barrier 1. Yeah.
Barrier 1. So I mean, you don't want Barrier 1 to be a death sentence. I don't think that's likely, but keep an eye on that.
Okay.
The only one of the older horses that you'd even consider is Mighty Like. He's got a very good first up record. He won. He produced a couple of terrific wins last prep, and then he just went completely off. So his recent jump out was okay, not fantastic. So, but he's a price where you could save on him without costing you much money.
Okay, cool. The 7th. At the mile again. Look, there's a couple of horses here. Raposo got back in the winner's stall last week, or 2 weeks ago, which was good for him. Fresh for a Storm was a bit unlucky. Digitalism sort of was a bit off the bit last time. How have you seen this race?
Digitalism was very unlucky last start. Yeah. Like, cost some of our followers a few dollars. Anthony Judd was most upset with
42 Dave Freshen actually since that run.
But this is back to 1600.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both well found, Raposo and Digitalism. Like Raposo again, it's a new season 4-year-old.
Yeah.
He's got dominant form over this field. There's no doubt about that. So he needs to be favourite. Absolutely. But he misses the start every start.
Yep.
So he's going to be in the back end of the field. So he's going to have a lot of bums in front of him. And if you keep doing that, you're tempting fate.
Yep.
And at 220, there's no way in the world I'm getting involved at 220. So he looks about a 2-to-1 chance to me. The horse to beat, but not that much needs to go wrong.
Yeah.
For him to be vulnerable. Digitalism will race well in front of him, and has had a great prep. So if he's freshened up well and is still with us, which he probably is, he fits in there with a chance. But he's well enough found also. So to be honest, when I did this race, I was looking for something, and didn't really find much. So,
Yep.
of the horses out of the market, the one I think's got some likelihood of appearing is Lake Sententia. She's been going around for practice.
Okay.
And the blinkers are going on, so she might do something, but she might also be finished and on the way to the breeding barn. But
okay. Watch the money.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, absolutely. If there's support for her, that's very interesting. But yeah, it's hard to be confident about it because she hasn't been sighted, but she looks a candidate for one that's ready to improve sharply.
Yeah, and a quick word on was it Visaka? It was $61 last start, and it was on I think it was the day that Charmed Harmony got away from them.
Yeah, Charmed Harmony was just way too good, dominated them. It's probably a good conditioning run.
Yeah.
He just hasn't got much ability. I mean, he's Visaka's one of those horses that fits somewhere between midweek and Saturday. So when he gets a Saturday grade, he's usually going to find one or two better than him and finish about 2 to 3 lengths away. You know, so he's sort of in that. He'd need things to go wrong for all of Raposo, Digitalism, and maybe some others.
Okay.
Now, Suno Eagles got the right sort of form lines, but I just can't get my head around here at 1600. So
first time.
Freshwater Storm's never been a horse I've been interested in. Streets Away was okay first up, but here he is at 9 years old or something. I rarely find that profile of horse. Pinion Hopes has got some hope, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay. Well, looks a tricky little race then.
It looks an obvious race, but I just it's a bit like Heavy last week. We had a long conversation about Heavy. He looked the obvious choice, and a lot of reasons he was heavily backed. You know, I had him on the betting plan, a bit reluctantly.
Yeah.
And he got rolled. Raposo feels the same sort of situation here. I suppose the difference with Heavy is that was 3-year-olds, and there are other up-and-coming 3-year-olds to beat him. But
look, I had a quick look at the 8th. Wow, there's plenty to choose from. We've got 18 here. Charles in Charge has gone up favourite, who did pretty well all campaign last time, but we'll get pressure here. Thoughts?
He's an honest horse. He's a good horse to back because he gives you a run for your money every time, and I've got him right in there because he just puts himself in the race, and he's only had a 42-day freshen, I think, something like that. Short freshen up. So he's still fit. It's impossible not to have him in your numbers, really. There's a lot of provincial and midweek form here that shouldn't be competitive in a Saturday race, so it's got a bit of a tail on it, this race.
So generally not a bad race to, just discard the ones that are taking up the market percentage.
So
create some value.
It's a sort of race that you could, if they were more tightly bunched in performance level, you'd happily brush this race. But because there is a bit of separation,
variety,
so the horses that have actually got some Saturday form are standing out. I'm going to bet on this race and watch it, like that, because there's a lot of runners here, and you're going to need some luck to get through it all. That's why Charles in Charge is, a horse that has to go in because he'll be in the first 4. He doesn't need the lead. He's happy to sit. He's probably better sitting on a leader at 1200. So he's right in it. But the obvious horse, the horse that has got the talent to just round these up, is Lockroy, but he's a bit unreliable. He's coming out of that same race. That's the Pedo one. It's a powerful force against this lot. He only needs clear room to me to just round him up, but I've marked Charles in Charge shorter because he's got a better racing style. So Lockroy's the talented horse in the race. I think he's very hard to beat, so I can't really say.
Is he getting a bit tired though, do you think?
He's still racing well. So he's just hard to. He's a tricky horse. He's not
Yeah.
So one week he's a back marker, next week he's a leader.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're going to get really, but he's got more talent than any of these. It's pretty simple.
Yep.
And so, but you just got to hope that things work out well.
Mm-hmm.
There's no other way of putting it. The other horse I could consider at big odds is Monkstone. He's joined a no-name trainer and is going well for him. He's had a bit of a freshen up, and he's 20 to 1, and he's got a chance.
Okay. Alright, one's got a little bit of value then, Monkstone. And we have the famous 9th race now in Melbourne. Apparently we're going to get that in Sydney come December. 9 races, which should be interesting. But look, we're back to the we're up to 2,500 for last, which is a bit of a strange ending. But a couple of Sydney siders, Raining and Sir Mako's head the market.
Yeah, so you got to be in a position to line up this Sydney form, the Melbourne form, and
there's none better than you.
Yeah, I would like to think I'm well placed to do this, but the problem is all these Sydney staying races are small fields.
Yes.
Where there's usually not a lot of tempo, unless Chris decides there's going to be tempo. Mm-hmm. And then they come to a big field like this, and it just looks different. I mean, this looks completely different to all the races Sameko's running. What's the biggest field he's running in Sydney?
Rotorua was 14.
No, but that's
Since then it's 7, 9, 9, 6.
There you go.
Yeah. So this is
he's run well in all of them, but he's done it from the back.
Yep.
When you're not that far from the leaders, you know. So, well, he didn't run that well last week, but I suppose
inside.
Yeah, he was out wide, sort of sinking.
Yeah. And then we got Raining, who is 23 days between runs, comes from Grafton, where it was pretty hard track. What was that, 19 up to 2300 that day, and before that was beaten by Sir Mako.
He doesn't really have any 2400 metre form to speak of. So I suppose the Grafton effort was a little bit encouraging.
Yep.
I mean, it's hard not to mark them on top. I have.
Yep.
But have I done it with any conviction? I don't know if I don't think I have. So
yeah,
you know, Mako and Raining are obvious chances, but this is different to what they've been doing. I think of the two, Raining's the one that feels right. You know, they Ollie for a start, surely, and the sort of soft barrier and racing in the middle of the field rather than the back of the field. I mean, I suppose Mako could be closer, but that's a guess. I mean, you don't know, do you?
No.
He's been at the back in all of his Sydney runs.
Yeah. And
of the rest of the Melbourne horses, you know, Karimi dropped back in distance last start, gets back up to 2,500. He'll be one out, one back, where he always races. He has a racing style that makes him hard to beat. Yep. And at $9, he's a value runner.
Okay.
Dr. Care looks dangerous, but I can't get him in there.
Dan Shy.
Not for me, Dan Shy, no.
Yep.
Artistic Lass looks a little bit dangerous, but again, I can't fit her in. West Southwest put together a couple of good runs, but then went completely missing. But that was his first run up at this distance range, so he might be better with that. Yeah. The map looks sticky for him. Yeah. So I started out this race thinking it'd be nice if I could confidently find something to put in front of the two Sydney horses, but I couldn't. So I went through all of them, and none of them are rock solid. Yep. So Kareeming's the most likely, but he's just sort of a fair horse that I doubt could compete in the staying races in Sydney. So you've got Raining and Samako, who are both capable of winning Sydney staying races, so they have to be the top two picks.
Okay, fair enough. No big shocks there in the last. No. A bit of a soft ending. Yeah. I don't like ending on 2,500 metre race.
Not like last week. I was, it was exciting getting the move. We found a few runners at big odds. Unfortunately, one of them was scratched. One of them got completely taken out of play by a riderless horse. Yeah. And one almost got the cash at 100 to 1. This week, not so much. It's the chances in most of the races look fairly clear cut. So it's really a matter of getting your staking right to carve out a winning day. So that's what we hope we can do with the with the set.
And that's right. For those that haven't seen it before, that's probably one of your, I think one of your specialties is your ability to stake and the way you do. Often finding, 2 or 3 the top of the market in one race, but staking correctly to win. It's a bit of a trademark of yours, I think. Just hard skill to master.
Well, if you are going to starve if you don't get it right, you got to get it right.
Exactly. That's why I've got you, because you generally do. Darren Potter's set. The interim will be online tonight, I'm assuming.
Yep, it's ready to go.
Thursday, online right now, probably when you're viewing this video. Also, another options are the Melbourne stuff through Melbourne Phantom. That's one2follow.com.au. But and also Pro Better Live. Darren is well and truly involved in Pro Better Live in the chat room all day tomorrow. So if we see any patterns developing on Saturday, or the rain sort of comes, which we're not really thinking. There's a little bit of rain around, but it's not too much. But if it does, that's the ability we can adjust. And if the fence is off, like we've flagged it as being okay at the moment. But if it doesn't, if it's no good, we can adjust our bets.
Look, as time's gone on, we've got better and better with what we're doing with Pro Better Live.
Yeah.
A bit slow to start, but we're warming up. Even with Sydney last week, I think the early set that went out in the morning, if you had to just followed that, you would have made a profit of 33 units.
Yep.
If you had been in the chat room, you would have made 46. So
46, yeah.
And it depends
that's
what
an additional, almost 50% additional units on the day. So well worth the money, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some of the information we're getting from the boys at the track has been outstanding.
Yeah.
There are days when nothing changes, but more often than not, you've got to think on your feet, and the set gives you a good base to start with.
Exactly.
But you need to, as Stewie highlighted in his interview with Aaron and Dallas, that I can't remember the exact numbers, but it improves his overall performance by a couple of, his profit on turnover by a 4% or something. So these are the, you're getting that advice from someone who survived in this game for 2 decades.
Correct.
I think you should listen.
Exactly right. All right, Darren. Well, thanks for joining us for the second Melbourne preview, and we'll be back next Thursday.
You bet. Thanks, Matt.
All right. See you, mate.